Kirk Cousins does not want to take a pay cut?
Oh, I am Lupagus here with Onebar. And yeah, rumors coming out today that Kirk Cousins not interested in taking a pay cut, playing hardball with Minnesota Vikings. We'll see how much this actually there's truth to this or not. But before we get into that, be sure to subscribe to the channel, like the vids. We are closing in on 6K. So close. I can almost reach out and grab it. It's just right there.
Yeah, let's get to 6,000, baby. Hit that subscribe button down below. And, you know, there's multiple sources saying that Kirk Cousins has pretty much zero interest on taking a pay cut. And honestly, I mean, we're going to talk about it, but why should he? Why should he want to take a pay cut?
Exactly. I don't blame the guy. I mean, you're in your career, you're in your prime. You make as much money as you can while you can. So I'm not personally like faulting the guy for saying, no, I'm not going to take a pay cut. I'm not going to restructure. So I don't hold anything against him for taking the stance if it is true and if it's truly what he wants to do.
Yeah, I mean, if we should hold against anybody, it should be the people that gave him the contract. So don't blame him. Not surprised. I mean, it's not like he's going to come and say, hey, you know what, let's cut this thing in half. Let's go get a Super Bowl winning squad. When you look at the thoughts of Derek Carr possibly getting like $40 million a year, Kirk Cousins, what he's getting isn't actually overly that crazy.
And that's what the reported salary would be like if they extend him, looking at 3 years, $40 million a year for Kirk Cousins for a team that needs to rebuild, a team that needs to kind of just evaluate everything, especially if you're switching your defense to a 3-4. I mean, there's guys who aren't going to fit. You got to go, you got to spend some money. And, you know, you look at Kevin O'Connell's press conference yesterday. Yes, he talks about how much he wants to coach Kirk Cousins. Obviously he does. He talks about the guys he wants to keep here. Somewhere guys are going to have to be let go to save some money and to make you be able to have a roster that's going to be competitive. You have to cut somewhere.
Yeah, and while I don't blame Kirk Cousins for not wanting to take a pay cut, I also do not want the Vikings to extend him where he is making $40 million a year. If he's not going to take a pay cut, if we cannot trade him, if they have no interest in trading him, whatever the case may be, that's fine. Let's get through next year. Even if the year is dog shit, we're not extending him for $40 million a year. Play it out. Move on.
Yeah, so I think this is probably opening the door to force a trade to somebody, to probably a competitor who's looking to compete, and they feel like they're a quarterback away from making that jump. I just read something today that Washington's willing to get whatever they can to get a quarterback who can give them to the next level. Would he go back to Washington? I mean, it's not going to be up to him in the long run, but you look at some teams. There's plenty of teams out there. There's the Pittsburgh Steelers. There's Washington. There's Denver. I mean, there's all kinds of teams that could be interested in Kirk Cousins. So I think there will be a market here. And if this is true, I really think this opens the door for him to be traded.
Yeah, and it would actually be in the Vikings' favor if the Raiders sign Derek Carr to some $40 million, some crazy ass contract where a team looks at this and is like, all right, we can get a Kirk Cousins for 35 next year. That's not that bad. A team that's a quarterback that thinks they're a quarterback away. I would love it. You know, I'm really kind of torn, like Natalie Imbruglia. I'm torn as far as, do we trade him? Do we just play it out? What do we do? At this point, just leaving it up to the guys who are a lot smarter than us.
Well, I'm surprised because everybody seems to forget how good Kirk Cousins was last year. I mean, how many times did he bring this team back? How many times were we down a touchdown with 2 minutes to go? He drove down. He got that game-winning score. He put us ahead late in games. Our defense could not hold those leads. And everybody just seems like to forget that. Like, I'm surprised. You go on Twitter, everybody just want to get rid of this guy. Don't forget, he was damn good last year. And, yes, I understand it from a rebuilding standpoint. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense to keep him. But let's not forget, he did everything he could to keep this team in games. And the fact that they finished 8-9 had a lot to do with how well he really played last year.
Well, and the thing, Kirk Cousins doesn't want to restructure for nothing but more money, because it's going to be interesting if he does stick around with the Vikings in this Kevin O'Connell offense where he pushed yesterday in his press conference, aggressive. His numbers could actually get better. We don't know how much he was hamstrung. Is that the word as far as what they wanted to do? Maybe a lot of that issues, what we've seen with Kirk Cousins over the last handful of years, is just because they wouldn't let it loose. And if Kevin O'Connell lets him come out and let it loose, he could actually make more money.
And he could have better stats too. And I don't deny or don't think that Kevin O'Connell was blowing smoke yesterday when he was talking about how he wants to coach Kirk Cousins, how he expects him to be here. I mean, I'm sure he does. I'm sure he wants to coach him. Why would you not want to coach a guy like this? He's been in that system for so many years. So I truly believe O'Connell was telling the truth, but it's a business. You got to get if you can acquire draft picks for this guy, save some money against your cap. Why would you not do it if it's for the betterment of your team down the road? You got to look at it from a business aspect. And I think this would be huge for the Vikings to get some picks, move this guy if he truly will not restructure and he wants to be paid really what he's worth. And I think he is worth that, in my opinion.
Werther's Original is a very bad candy, as you said worth a lot. So I kept thinking of Werther's Original, just real milky candy when you put in your mouth. But if they can, it all depends on this. If Kevin O'Connell is completely hard up on having this guy, he will be here next year. If there's any gray area and they get a trade offer, I think he's gone. I think they just look to the future. I think they get some draft picks, whatever they can get that big cap space. Because when you trade him, his contract is gonzo, and we have all that free. So it's going to be very interesting. I like the fact that he's saying it. I don't 100% believe it.
Yeah, and I think you can even like go into it like expecting him to be here, but if a team comes in and offers you something that you can't turn down, I mean, that's another thing. And I think, him coming out and saying this report coming out, it's just going to up that trade value. It's going to up the interest. It's going to up teams wanting to come in and hey, this is what we'll give you for Kirk Cousins, because he is a damn good quarterback. A team that feels like they're good on defense, they have a strong running game, whatever. They just need that quarterback. I mean, he is a guy who could come in and really be that X factor for a team that feels like they're ready to compete.
Well, we're going to realize real quick, if they trade him, depending on that compensation, we're going to know if they actually wanted him. If they ended up trading him for a third-round pick or something goofy, it's not because they got great compensation. It's because they wanted him gonzo. So that's what it's going to come down to, the compensation. We're going to tell real quick if they wanted him or not.
All right, let us know what you guys think about this whole situation. Kirk Cousins not willing to restructure. Is this just open the door for a trade or what? What would you give up for him? What would you accept? That was a really cool sound. We do it again.
It was opening the door.
Yeah, let us know in the comments what you think, and we'll see what happens. I mean, you can make a trade now. You can make a trade next week. The door is open for Kirk Cousins to be moved. We will see where this goes. Until then, remember this. This comes from our friend Ellis Greger. He sent me this little nugget. It says, comedian Richard Pryor was also a singer and used to open up for Bob Dylan back in the day.